few months ago, a port in Southeast Asia faced what looked like a routine IT outage. Systems were down, containers delayed, communications were stalled. But beneath the surface, it wasn't a routine. It was a calculated, very targeted cyber attack. What started as a few harmless-looking emails had escalated into days of operational paralysis. Its operation stops at the port, putting millions of dollars and lives at risk. At the crisis table, the senior leaders gathered, the IT leads, operations, legal counsel, all speaking different languages of urgency. Some said their reputation was important to protect, others said operations must continue. So amid all the chaos, somebody just asked, then who do we call to support? That question wasn't about technical support, it was about trust. Who do we trust to act? Who do we trust to partner with? To share, to lead, and in that moment we learned something very critical. Cyber resilience is not built during the attack. It is built during peacetime with partners. Through partnership, precision, and trust. So Your Excellency and distinguished guests, thank you very much for having me today. I will be sharing with you our journey in Singapore and how we partner with the Singapore maritime sector to secure it and to entrust and to ensure and to provide assurance to other partners that it's safe and secure waters. And perhaps in sharing our journey, we'll share with you some ideas to strengthen Oman's top-tier position in the Global Cybersecurity Index as you secure your logistics sector. So government worldwide rely on critical information infrastructure, or what we affectionately call CII, to provide essential services to its people, ensure societal well-being, economic stability, and national security. So protecting these infrastructures is very important. As Oman realizes its 2020 vision, these systems become highly interconnected and will be exposed to a variety of cyber and physical threats. In the cyber world, we call your attack surface has increased. The more connected you are, the more opportunities for the attacker to do bad things. So, the threat to risk to impact framework that I'm showing on board on the screen here provides a structured approach to understand and to address the vulnerabilities and consequences of these threats targeting each CII. So threats are potential actions or events that might happen to exploit these vulnerabilities in the CII. The CII context, the threats include cyber attacks like ransomware, distributed denial of service, APTs, or what we call advanced persistent threats, physical disruptions, natural disasters, physical sabotage, and the list goes on. So understanding the threat is extremely important. Number two is the risk that arise. One thing if I had to share with everybody is the conversation of risk is something that transcends from the person in the trench fighting the battle for you, detecting and prevention in the heat of the battle, all the way up to senior leadership and to the ministry. So I urge if there's a possibility to rethink, to speak in the language of risks. So risk arises when a threat exploits a vulnerability, meaning a weakness or a gap in your defenses, or even in the infrastructure itself. This is the bridge between the threat and its eventual impact. So the vulnerability in this context means it could be legacy systems, like as we understand at the ports, as with any other operating systems, operation technology rather, some of them cannot be protected in a normal or modern way. So there might be other mitigating controls. So the spirit of cybersecurity is to ensure that it's continuously protected. So we always say, if you cannot digitally protect it, then you need to physically protect it. The impact then refers to the actual outage or the damage caused by the realized attack. One thing, if I had to quickly move on from this slide, is a cyber attack never ends with cyber. It always ends with an operational, reputational, financial, or legal impact. So therefore, there's always this strong communication and coordination need between the defenders and the prevention, even cross-agency, to be able to mitigate such a risk. So, mitigating controls, or what we affectionately call, the ones can be in digital control, physical control, or process controls, is to really implement an integrated risk management. So risk can be a bit of a conceptual thing in our heads, but if you ask the right questions, it might come up. For example, if we were to disconnect I think it was done in an exercise yesterday. If we were to disconnect the terminal operating system, what is the risk to the operations? What is the risk to revenue? So those conversations can really be held. I think with very talented, competent, and dedicated people that you have, I think it's an easy discussion and coming to a conclusion. I always say I'm cyber, I'm not IT. It doesn't work. Yeah, yes. Can somebody maybe change the slide for me? Can somebody change the slide for me, please? I was given 10 minutes. I think I need to extend it to 12. It's not changing. Let me know when the slide changes. Okay, I'm just going to carry on speaking. So the next slide, what you will see is our method of identifying the threats. Now, if you look into the universe of threats, there can be thousands and thousands of them. And the good thing behind it, and to provide assurance to the leaders here, is there is an open source availability and the library of such threats already. So when I had the opportunity to speak to the Institute of Directors, which are board of directors back in Singapore, they stood up and they got a bit upset. They said, so many threats, do I have to protect against every single one of them? The answer is no. Let me go backwards. There you are. The answer is no. There's a way to do it. So if you look at the right-hand side, we are able to then quickly filter the ones that matter to you the most, right? So you see right at the top, if you know the enemy, then you need not fear the result of 100 battles. So you need to know the threat. And the conversation here is about threat-informed defense. A natural tendency is to quickly build the wall all the same height around you for defense. What if there's a way to say certain areas you don't need a wall, certain parts of the wall can be lower? That means that you have ability to direct your investments into defenses and save some of the money there and then put it into education perhaps. So be able to filter it down is very important and arriving on what we call the material risks or material threats, the ones that are very relevant to you at the ports. Now every port has a terminal operating system, but you've got different controls and different competencies, different defenses. So instead of running, for example, exercises is about ransomware, go ahead and understand whether are you even susceptible to ransomware. Is that even your weak point? Sometimes it's not. You might be more susceptible to DDoS perhaps or insider attacks. So be very specific about it. So this slide gives you an example of how we can do it. Start with understanding the universe of the threats. Go into study the ones that attack specifically countries, governments, because the port is linked to the government and to the economy of the country. Then moving down into the maritime sector, and then henceforth. So what we've done for you is to arrive at 4 different threats, if you see on the left-hand side here. And these are the 4 threats. Now, while I leave the countries there, it is not meant to attribute it to the country. It's meant to say they operate from those spaces. Next slide, please. Excellent, thanks. So which is a more meaningful question we ask ourselves, knowing who attacked you or knowing why and how? As I was sitting there listening to the speeches and also yesterday's exercise, there's this certain amount of fear and uncertainty when it comes to cyber. I hope at the end of this conversation with me, my dialogue with you, that I'm showing you a way out of this. And whatever I'm sharing here is not something we created, it's something that's in open source and we brought it together so that you, in time to come, through partnerships and through learning from each other, you can implement it on your own. So, knowing the threat actor will allow us to understand the intent and motive. And this is important from a leadership perspective. A lot of times as leaders, sometimes we just jump into the fray, right? We want to help put out the fire. Try not to. One of the worst questions we want to ask is, who did it? Because in cyber it's a bit tricky. I always joke, it can be a 16-year-old boy sitting in his mother's basement doing the attack, right? We don't know. So what's important then is understanding what the attack is all about, studying the behavior. So we need to address every technique. So what we call, in the cyber world, in a MITRE attack, is called tactics, techniques, and procedures. These are the ways to characterize how they come into your network and do bad things. So the inventory analysis and key systems like port management, information system, vessel tracking management, terminal operating systems, computer integrated, the list goes on. So thank you. So having the ability to look into your asset and understand what it is, understand what its vulnerabilities, looking at the capabilities of your threat actors, and whether they can even exploit it, is a logical way to do it, rather than to protect against every single one. So, if you look at the bottom, is the impact. If you forget everything on this slide, because it's a heavy slide and I'm meant to leave it with you so that you can digest it on your own, is the threat actor means to do one thing, is to deny you something. He does it by first either degrading, what we call death by 1,000 cuts, slowly degrading the operations and the efficiency of your port, without you knowing, bit by bit. Before you know it, certain yards don't work. Before you know it, certain key cranes don't work. Next, disruption, which is temporary in nature. So it stops you for a period of time, 1, 2, 3 days, and before you know it, your viability of a port goes to another country. Last but not least, it will destroy you. The destruction, it can amount to an explosion. Destruction is when you have a very, very weak ability to recover from it. That's when you need to write off certain things. So if you think of it this way, and if you connect it to the economy of the country, then as leaders, we need to understand why would the threat actors do something like this. So, 3 pillars, and it is here, if you look right on the top, if we make the calculations before in our tents, in our homes, in our conference rooms, then by the time you are able to fight the battle, you have thought about all the different scenarios already, at least most of it, right? So we uncovered we covered in a few slides the operational approach to the technical adoption of understanding the threats, going to the MITRE attack, going into what's in an open source, understanding the why, having a look at your inventory, right? It's very similar to if you need to protect your home, isn't it? You want to know what you need to protect. If you have a pot of gold sitting somewhere, that's your treasure, that's your asset. If you put it underneath your bed and everybody can see it, then you're asking for it, right? Because there's an opportunity for the threat actor to come. If there's an intent, he will do so. So once you know what assets it is and what controls you have that's protecting it or what you're lacking with, then you're able to say, threat actor 1, 3, and 4 have no capability of breaking in because I'm on a mountain. He has no climbing ability, he cannot parachute. Don't worry about those threats. So, in Singapore, on the left-hand side, the regulations are extremely important. I think we'll talk about it in the panel later on as well. So the compliance as it is, I was speaking to one of our colleagues here. The Singapore way of doing it is always a little bit of a stick, to prod you along, and when you do well, they give you an ice cream. And they say, thank you very much for the good work, and he tells everybody about it. It really depends upon the culture of the country for this kind of adoption. Regulations alone are not enough, however, so success also hinges on proactive sharing and constant readiness. So we foster channels for open sharing, threat intelligence across government agencies. So the key is not just keep it within yourselves, but also across the private sector. So one other key term I want to leave with you is the public-private partnership is key. So let's try and leverage that a little bit more. So perhaps this approach can, also last one is of course the readiness, and all plans written, nicely printed out, font 12, nice colored, put it into binders, will not work if you don't practice it. You will notice, and which is done yesterday, you will notice to the participants yesterday, plans are great, but when it comes to the heat of the battle, the fog of war will come in. So practices, exercises will then give us an opportunity to input intuitiveness. What would I do if I don't have a plan? And then look at the plan to see if you can improve it that way, right? So 3 things up there. It's like the Grammy Awards, I'm told the music is going to come on and I've got to go off already. So I'm going to leave you 3 things that we have learned in the journey. And this is isn't specific to the maritime sector, but across all the sectors that we have worked with. This is in the banking sector, the real estate as it is with power and energy. So 3 important things up here, if you can see it. So trust is key, especially so in the maritime sector. You want to make sure that you provide assurance to your partners that you have a safe and secure waters. In maritime, in Singapore, you take care of the port, take care of the waters near the port, and the air above it. So naturally, when you think about it that way, you need to have cross-agency support as well. So the collaboration part is everybody used to say it yesterday, it's a team sport. You know? There are 4 members in the team, one cannot do without the other. So we can defend and or score alone, however, collaboration occurs vertically within ministries, ensuring leadership supports and resources and efforts are put in place to do so. So beyond that, international partnerships matter as well. So that's the reason I feel very honored to be here to share this journey with you. And my team behind me put in the necessary work as well to create these slides for you. So last but not least, through years of many iterations of such exercises and improvements of policies, educating people, try and learn at precision. Precision meaning if I have to call somebody, who to call. If I have to put in a process like this, and a process example, what else do I do? Specificity around it. So that whatever needs to happen along the way is already thought of and practiced. That's a journey that Singapore is in right now. We don't have that ability to be precise as of now. But we know exactly how we do it because we've got good leaders that can make logical decisions, sense-making, and good judgment calls. So in the process of creating platforms to imbue that precision, so in the event that if I'm not around, who can take that platform and have a consistent outcome? So I'm not spoken very fast. I hope that whatever I'm sharing with you is useful. So to the leaders here, it has been an honor to share these insights with you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to Oman's cybersecurity journey, and look forward to seeing how our collaborative efforts can continue to bear fruit. So thank you very much. Shukran.